Hello everyone, it's Jamarl Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. This one is going to go relatively quick because my wife has a doctor's appointment. But I wanted to do this video because I've been thinking about this video for the last few days and I want to get it out while I'm thinking about it. Take a look at this. First, let me check my volume and check my sound. And sound is good, perfect. And let me check my other sound. Guys, if you want to contribute, you can do it through the link at the bottom. There's a link in the description box as opposed to using Super Chat. Super Chat and everything else is disabled for my channel, meaning all funding from the channel from the standpoint of Google. That includes Super Chat. So if you want to give, you can give through the link at the bottom. That's not a push. That's just a heads up. Now, that's it. Let's get to the content. This gentleman up here. Do you guys remember this? And you may not remember this, because if I'm being honest, I'm not sure I fully remember this.
Chair Dianne Feinstein went to the Senate floor today and accused the CIA under your leadership of a potentially illegal and unconstitutional search of Senate intelligence computers to thwart a Senate investigation into past practices of detention and interrogation, partly under your leadership then at the CIA. What is your response to this accusation?
First of all, there's never been an effort by the CIA to thwart the SSCI's investigation. They have their congressional oversight responsibilities, and we've worked with them over the past year on their report, and we look forward to working with them in the future. So I know that there are a lot of sort of claims out there that the CIA has sought to prevent the SSCI from doing its work, but that is not the case at all.
Well, she says that there was a document dump, that there was no cooperation, that despite that, her team worked, that
I gotta be honest, you don't have to go into another phase of the question. He never answered your original question. They said you were spying on them. Well, we've never thwarted their attempts of investigation. She never said that. She said you were spying on them. Why is she moving on from that point? That's not what I asked you. I'm asking you if you were spying on them. It's a different question. She's moving on to another question, or at the very least a variation of this question. Let's see if she pushes him on it.
they came across this prior report which matched their own investigation, that the practices were far more harsh than what has been acknowledged by the CIA, and that then the CIA went into their computers and took documents out and were attempting to block their own investigation.
Again, we weren't trying to block anything, and the matter is being dealt with in the appropriate way, being looked at by the right authorities, and the facts will come out. But let me assure you that
investigating the CIA. Fact is, Brennan is a habitual liar. He's lied on multiple occasions. He's lied about the torture program. He's lied about the drones. He's lied about the kill list. In this case, he's lied about the number of people that they've been murdering. The reason they were investigated in the first place. The number of people they have been murdering. The torture. Brennan is a habitual liar. And not just a habitual liar, a killer. Now, I say that to say, all of these people weeping over John Brennan being slapped on the wrist with the security clearance being taken away. Don't. Just don't. Just stop. Come on, just stop. I'm sure the top spook will be okay. At the end of the day, Donald Trump took away his security clearance. There are 2 points here. A, yes, John Brennan is a brutal killer. For all intents and purposes, he served as a top spy, and as serves as a top spy, in one case after the next, found no issue with lying, either to members of Congress or spying on members of Congress. On a secondary point, Donald Trump did take away his privilege here, meaning Donald Trump did take away or strip away his security clearance. For a third point, the President of the United States should not punitively take away somebody's security clearance. Like, it's multiple things at the exact same time. It's funny that Donald Trump took away his security clearance. What does the ex-spook need with a security clearance? By the same token, the president should not flagrantly take it away just because he doesn't necessarily like somebody. These are governmental functions. The problem here, and the argument here that people need to make, and the angst here is not Brennan just being, how dare he strip away a clearance that I no longer need at this point. He may need it for monetization reasons, meaning if he's using it for his, to make a profit. But from a governmental standpoint, no. The ex-spook doesn't need a security clearance. But secondary point, like I said, the President of the United States should not be using governmental functions at the whim of his emotions. Meaning, I don't like Brennan, so I'm going to use a governmental edifice to reach into the private space, or to reach into the space just to rip off something that belongs to him, or something that doesn't belong to him. I'm saying this poorly. To put it plainly, don't weep for the spook. Don't cry for the spy who loses his security clearance. By the same token, it is not great that the President of the United States is using personal grievance to strip away, you could say, something that's a governmental edifice. Yeah, that's right. I'm going to put an article at the bottom so you can see the mendacity of Brennan. I've seen these Democrats looking at this, flipping out about them stripping away his security clearance. It's true that John Brennan and Trump have gone back and forth over this stuff. But from the standpoint of Trump, John Brennan has been one of these people who's been trying to string him up with his Russia collusion nonsense. That's the reason, to some degree, I would imagine Trump is being antagonistic towards Brennan. Brennan is a holdover of the previous government. Now, I gotta be honest, I thought this was funny. Like, and yes, I'm a product of this culture. I'm a product of this particular time period. I am, what I consider to be normal and everything else is based on the time I was born versus now. And so there's this kind of scale for me that's maybe out of sync with what was taking place from the standpoint of historical norms. All that's true. All that's true. But it seems to be a certain degree of trolling associated with doing this. Certain trolling. Let's take a look at this real quick. I want to go through a little bit about Brennan, so you have an idea of why I say don't cry for the spook. This is a Guardian piece that does a really good job of going into the spying that Brennan was doing against Congress. Think about what I'm saying here. The CIA, a governmental agency, has decided to, for all intents and purposes, attack another governmental agency because the regulating body is regulating it. When asked, are you spying on us? That spy says, no. How dare you, sir? We've never done such a thing. Except that they were doing such a thing. Not to mention, again, the torture and the torture and the torture. As a report emerges Thursday that the internal investigation by the CIA Inspector General found that the CIA improperly spied on the United States Senate staffers when researching the CIA's dark history of torture. It was hard to conclude anything but the obvious. John Brennan blatantly lied to the American public. Again. This is back in 2014. So you believe that a blatant habitual liar that's lied multiple occasions, that's been taken to task for lying to Congress and the American public on multiple occasions, all of a sudden, because he's talking about Donald Trump, now he's telling the truth. Now he's telling the truth. And this blatant liar is all of a sudden a hero. Forgive me if I don't weep that John Brennan loses his security clearance. What does the next spook need with a security clearance anyway? There are worse things for me to cry about. That's all I'm saying. I'm going to end this. I'm not going to keep this long. This article is at the bottom if you want to read it. His career is ghastly. I mean, let's go through a little bit of it. The facts will come out that Brennan told NBC News in March after Senator Dianne Feinstein issued a blistering condemnation of the CIA Senate floor, accusing the Senate agency of hacking into the computers used by her Intelligence Committee staffer. Let me assure you that CIA was in no way spying on staffers. Right, we know that's a lie. Now, but the director of CIA, right, the latest row isn't lone CIA spying on the Senate scandal, but Brennan's watch. In a little notice story last week, McClatchy reported that the CIA has also been spying on emails from whistleblower officials and Congress. The CIA got hold of legally protected emails, other specified communications between whistleblower officials and lawmakers this spring. People familiar with the matter told McClatchy. It's unclear how the agency obtained the material. You have a branch of government spying on your Congress. Spying on Congress. What the fuck? What the fuck? This was back in 2014. You had the spooks attacking Congress. That's amazing. The spying scandal, as well as other one Brennan was actually owned up to, spawned from the Senate's damning 6,000-page report on CIA torture, part of which is supposed to be publicly released any day now. The document will serve as yet another reminder that Brennan, when he worked for the CIA during the Bush years, supported many of the barbaric techniques used on prisoners after 9/11, which the Obama administration claims to oppose. This guy is now a hero because he opposes Trump. Don't weep for the ex-spook. Don't weep for the ex-spook. There are worse things in life than losing a security clearance. Brennan, one-time torture endorsement, made newly elected President Obama pass him over for the CIA director job that was open in 2009, but failing upwards has been a Langley specialty over the past decades. As Associated Press has documented, many agency officials involved in the CIA's worst human abuses and intelligence disasters have not only been shielded from punishment, but promoted. In 2013, after signature drone strike filled stint as Obama's top counterterrorism advisor, Brennan was successfully confirmed as CIA director. He has it all: the kill list, drones, murders, tortures. Brennan. And this is the guy they're hailing as a hero now. This is the guy they're calling a hero. The breaker of men. Brennan's most recent false statement is not his first James Clapper-esque experiment in misinformation. The nation's top spy is, in fact, a proficient and skilled liar. Do you realize how hard it has to be for some newsman or some kind of opinionist to literally use the term liar? Oftentimes they don't use it. In this case, they're using it overtly because he fits the bill so well that it just comes out. There's nothing else. There's no other word I can call this. Habitual, flagrant, unmitigated liar. And this is the guy that they're instilling with all the credibility, and they're sticking the mic in his face, and they're asking him his information about the President of the United States. Donald Trump should not use political grievances in order to get rid of somebody's security clearance. That is true. If there's a real grievance why they need to pull his clearance, then they need to make that grievance known and they need to rip his clearance away, but it shouldn't be for petty grievances. Absolutely agreed. It's just somewhat comical that they're ripping away his security clearance and Clapper is all in a huff about it. A little bit. A little bit. The guy who tortured and ripped apart human beings feels that he's somehow being mistreated. It's fucking hilarious. I'm going to end this here. Let me see. Who? Somebody assisted the campaign. Who assisted this channel? Wes. Testing. Would you put testing? Leave a comment, Wes. Leave a comment. Testing. Wes, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. It's funny you put testing. Can't believe what any of them say. No. The intelligence agencies are fighting amongst themselves. Yeah, agreed. Do you think that Trump could go solo on decisions like this? They are fighting over themselves, Garden. I agree with you on this. Just wanted to say, well done on covering Church Doll 42. He sent you much thanks in a video today. Oh, cool. I'll check it out. I'll check it out. Baltazar, why does he still have clearance? That's what other people ask, and I kind of asked that question too. Why does he still have clearance? And I got to be honest. If it was me, I probably would have done the same thing. And let me explain why. I don't have this belief that a political war is done purely from the standpoint of just the political space alone. I would make an argument that intelligence is to some degree part of the political space. At the very least, there's a Venn diagram associated with it. You had a bunch of hanger-ons from the Obama years and from the Bush years who doesn't like Trump. I would argue Brennan is one of them. What is Brennan using, and does Brennan have any influence from the standpoint of having clearance in this way? If it's me, yeah, I cut him off. Cut him off at the knees. I don't blame him. That said, you shouldn't do it. Unless you have a reason, you shouldn't do it. Now, the question becomes, does he have a reason? He may actually have a reason. Like, he may have a reason of he's using this information to attack me, etc., etc. In which case, yeah, you have to do it regardless of what people think about it. So, there may be reasons for why Trump is getting rid of his clearance. It may go beyond just trolling. If it's only trolling, then that's fucked up. Funny, but fucked up. Cut the authorization of military force. Congress cuts right funding. These rogue agencies, game over. That's hard to do, man. I mean, Trump couldn't even pull those troops out of Russia, out of Syria without just, with snapping his fingers. Alphabets forced their way into the political space decades ago, yeah. And look at what they're doing from the standpoint of Democrats. All of these Democrats that are part of the military or intelligence agencies. It's fucking amazing. What's our vector, Victor? What's our vector, Victor? GB, other than Syria, what differences does Trump have with the security establishment? None. None. That's what I say. I say there's not that great of a difference between Trump and Pence. I don't think you get a huge amount of latitude between those things. I think Trump is better, but I don't think you get a huge amount of latitude. Man, I wish we had the internet in 1776. Who are you telling, Trudy? Who are you telling? Who are you telling? That's why I say this is all a show. GB, I do think some of this is a show. I don't think all of it is a show, though. I do think they hate his guts. When you see, like, the media they do hate his guts. When you see Maggie Haberman, I saw Maggie Haberman give a speech, fascinating speech, talking about what was taking place in the White House. And while she would acknowledge that the media has some share of the blame with the delegitimization of the political and the media establishment, she recognizes this as something fundamentally different from the standpoint. There's some things that are different. There's some things that are the same. You can say that about some of anything, meaning this kind of continuity and the order. But this is issues of tone. He is destroying aspects of our government. That's true. But Republicans, that's been their dogma for God knows how long. He is the Republican id. He is just what the Republican Party has said they wanted to be for God knows how long. He's just so having to get elected. Usually you have the wealthy or the financial class that is more so able to kind of put a rein on that. This is not the part that they like to let out the box, but it's let out the box. Believe it or not, the president doesn't need an act of Congress to take a dump. No, he doesn't need an act of Congress to take a dump. That's true. That is true. Let me see. I need the clearance if you establish info. It's not right at all. Yeah, there's plenty of people with clearance. There's plenty of people with clearance. I thought about getting security clearance myself for software jobs. I don't know if the clearance that what's his name has is different. So this is beyond my scope from the standpoint of understanding what specifically his clearance allows him to see as opposed to what somebody else's clearance would allow him to see, if that makes sense. But why does he need it? John Brennan is dumb. That's funny. Michael Daniel. Look, I think he's a spook. I think he's a spook who in his head he was serving his country in the most brutal and vicious means possible. I would ask the question, is there a way that we can serve our country without murdering and killing people? That's what I would ask. All right, I'm going to end this. We're spending nearly $1 trillion on the military. Is that really what you want to spend your worth on? Think of your roads when you're going to work. Think of your roads when you're taking trips around the country. That's if you take trips around the country. That's assuming you have time, that you're not working 50, 60 hours a week, while maybe going to a football game and screaming that that's freedom. You don't have hyperrail. You don't have high-speed rail. You don't have health care. You don't have education credits. You're putting $50,000 on the backs of your kids to go to school. This is America. Look at the world that you have. Look at the chaos. Look at the people that are angry and at each other's throats. And then you think you're spending $1 trillion, nearly $1 trillion a year, murdering, killing, maiming, and dropping bombs on people in various countries around the globe. Are there better ways to spend that money? And is it possible that spending that money in that way creates a certain amount of resentment around the globe towards you? That you're not really spreading freedom and joy when you're dropping bombs and killing people around the globe? That you're actually spreading misery and those people hate your guts afterwards? Is it possible that you can use the money for those things, for the better things at home? So I'm going to end that here. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support the Patreon. Wesley, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.